Welcome to A Free Solution. I'm Kevin Wilson yesterday, joined by Tim, the Freedom Variant O'Connor.
I changed my name to the Culture Warrior, Kevin, because I just see round and round after round of culture wars being fought right now, and I'm excited. I'm excited to be in the middle of the culture war because we're gonna have a winner this time. We're gonna have a winner.
Yes, we're definitely going to win the culture war. It's gonna happen.
Oh yeah,
I mean, I don't know who we is in this case.
the
I don't.
government.
I would
The
like to not
government is
participate
me.
in the culture war, but
Well, the government's gonna win, man. If
government's
we
just
don't
stuff that
fight
we
it,
do together.
yeah, if we don't fight it, the government's gonna win, Kevin.
All right, man. We'll
Mm.
we'll see, but yeah. So we're going to talk about. And we'll talk about culture war, cancel culture stuff too, and
Yeah,
of course, we're going to talk about Donald Trump's attempted assassination.
yeah, yeah. Boy, the tinfoil hats are buzzing, and
They
I
are
mean,
left and right. Like it's like
oof.
horseshoe theory is alive and well.
You're gonna have to explain to me what horseshoe theory is. Like I'm 5 because people use these things, and I'm like, I don't know. These kids come up with newfangled things for stuff we used to talk about when I was younger, and they had different names. So you're gonna have to explain to me horseshoe theory,
All
but do
right,
it
so
on the
we'll
show.
we'll talk about horseshoe theory and handful of other things too. So we got a full list as usual. And yeah, so we'll jump right into it. We'll get right to the show and go from there.
All right,
All right. All right. So we'll go in like 10 seconds.
sounds good.
Now, an hour of clarity for exhausted people of our nation mired in toxic partisanship. Left versus right, us versus them. While we pay to keep our politicians fighting, how do we, the people, rise up and solve the great challenges of our time? We do it by embracing freedom and liberty. There may be no such thing as a free lunch, but this hour is as close as it gets. Welcome to A Free Solution.
Welcome to A Free Solution. I'm Kevin Wilson today, joined by Tim, the Freedom Variant O'Connor.
I'm here, brother, and I am coming to you once again from the heart of somewhere in Massachusetts, Lowell, Massachusetts, and Andover, someplace where roast beef and
Andover?
pizza, yeah, where roast beef and pizza rules the world. Like every pizza place is like they call themselves the king of roast beef. I've never seen anything
Oh,
like it.
I don't know what they're doing out there in New England.
It's
Is
good
it
though.
good?
Yeah, yeah, they have roast beef sandwiches around here, man, that are just killer. And like honestly, I'm not sure being from New York and all that, where like I'm from the home of cold cheese pizza, Central New York. People have heard about it all over the world. I'm telling you right now, the roast beef here is they should focus on roast beef. Let's just put it that way.
Just focus on that, not on the
Yeah,
pizza.
stick with that. Stick with
Yeah,
that.
fair enough.
Yeah.
Let New York have the pizza. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. We do pizza better.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of like your region in New York and formerly my region in New York, Rome, New York is hit like bad with tornadoes. It's the downtown area is just wrecked.
Yeah, it's wild. Clan O'Connor hails from Rome, New York, a couple generations ago. And yeah, I saw some pictures on Facebook and then I checked out the news articles. And I mean, 3, 4 tornadoes ripped through there, broke down a church, they
Yeah. Now
breaking
is it like
trees. Yeah.
yeah, like over there, like because I'm from Oriskany, but like I've worked in Rome. My mom used to work at the Iron Kettle over in Rome, like not too far on West Dominic Street there, and like that to the extent that Rome has a downtown, that's kind of it. So it's like sort of near the fort and everything too. The beautiful Paul Revere mural was just torn to shreds.
Oh wow.
The beautiful churches, some of the shops over there. Yeah, no, it was a mess. My brother lives in Rome. He's out of town and his house wasn't hit bad, but you know, so I feel bad for the folks in the area. I don't think anyone was too hurt, but obviously like the damage is pretty serious and it's
Yeah.
awful to see.
It is rough. About 20 years ago in Oneonta, we had a couple big tornadoes go through, and it's hard to gauge just the devastation and the life changing kind of stuff that happens there. It's unfortunate. I hope they all kind of get it back together. I hope everything works out for them. Hope everybody remains all right. So
Yeah, right.
yeah, yeah,
But so tornadoes aside, and again, hoping everyone in Rome is doing okay. But we were going to talk about some national news tonight too. We are going to talk about
yeah.
the we got to talk about the Trump attempted assassination thing.
Sure.
We
It's
got to talk
big
about
news,
that.
Kevin.
It's the news story.
Yeah.
And it actually, so what's funny about like this news story is not funny, but like I saw a friend who was selling T-shirts with that iconic photo on it before I actually heard about the news of the assassination attempt. Uh,
Oh,
so
really? That's
my
that's wild.
my former boss is like on it, like that photo, which is honestly like I've seen other people say this. I'm not original saying it. That photo goes hard. Like that photo, like Trump looks. I'm gonna say he looks like a badass in that photo. Like he really does. Like
Where he's
it's
pumping his fist in the air after
pumping his fist in
getting
the air. He's got his bloody like ear and face, and like
look,
with
man,
the American flag in the background. Like man, holy cow! What an incredible photo of that. Obviously like it comes from like a frightening situation, but like Donald Trump having the presence of mind to like after being shot, after being tackled, after getting up, saying like the shooter's down, going up and being like fight, 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 and getting up and like showing that he's there and alive and like you know engaged.
look,
I don't know.
it
It's
he
a good look.
he handled that situation well, and I mean, some people were on the fence, a lot of people are on the fence. I am sure that picked him up some votes. Like, look, I'd already made a promise that if Trump was in jail, I was voting for him. But after getting shot at and getting up and raising the fist and just very defiant.
What? So I will read from Road Boy based on X. He says that photo almost made me want to vote for Trump, and I'm vehemently opposed to voting in government in general. Tim, I don't think it's a good reason to vote for the guy.
I don't
His
need a good
policies are still
reason.
terrible. Um, yeah, right. But yeah, no, it was a good photo. And, you contrast that to like Joe Biden, and we'll talk about him more later. But like
Hmm.
that guy ain't doing that. Um, yeah, just in terms of like someone who has like the energy to like pursue the office, he looked great.
He went hard,
Um,
bro. He went hard.
yeah,
So look, Kevin, I gotta ask you where you're at. Like a lot of people that I like, a lot of people that I don't like. Everybody's tinfoil hat is like vibrating on a new frequency. They're just like from both
so
sides, from every angle. I have a theory as to why, but where are you at on this?
yeah, so this makes me think of horseshoe theory, like it, and so if you're not familiar with horseshoe theory, it's when like the far left and the far right start to sound like much very similar to each other, right? So like imagine a horseshoe, like the left and the right coming together, right? I mean,
Sure.
this is like a pretty narrow horseshoe because like the far right and the far left are mirroring each other. The like partisan Dems and partisan right are like mirror images of each other, like on the conspiracy
Okay.
side. And then like the centrists are all like, oh man, our republic is in so much trouble.
Yeah,
Um,
like the Weimar Republic, right? Like, isn't that
yeah,
isn't that the whole game? Don't they eventually coalesce and take on people that don't love the government as much as they do? Because you got to admit, both sides of that horseshoe seem to really love the government. I think I've always
they
been
do
afraid.
in different
Yeah,
ways. So
I've
like
always been afraid of
specifically,
that moment of
yeah.
coalescing.
Well, I mean, we'll talk about JD Vance later, but uh,
Sure.
anyway, like so, like in
And
terms of like explaining my horseshoe theory side of this is like here's what I see. I see okay, you see people on the far left being like, oh my goodness, I can't believe they missed. Um, and then there's a few people on the right who are kind of like that too, who are like, man, this would have really kicked it off. Like, wish they got the guy. Like I've seen some of that, and then you have like the partisan Democrats who are like, this is fake, this is staged. Like they set this up to make Trump look cool, somehow, firing a shot through his ear, or they're saying he uh, faked it. He like, put the fake blood while he was on the ground, and like that's what the whole
Yeah,
thing was. But I mean, like
yeah,
literally, a guy died. Like a retired firefighter, father died. They're like,
yeah.
okay, like it's a pretty big sacrifice for a show. And I think a couple other people were shot too. And so like that's the conspiracy on that side. Like this is all fake. This is all set up. Like they paid him to do it. And then you got the other side of the conspiracy theory, which is like, hey, there's some fishy stuff where Secret Service should have been on this. Is the CIA or FBI or Secret Service in on like being sloppy on Trump security? Now, Tim, that feels like a you thing to explain. Tim, tell us the conspiracies.
All right, so that is the one that I'm liking. That if I was to lean towards accepting a conspiracy theory in this situation, I certainly would lean towards that one. That there's this deliberate attempt. Look at Bobby Kennedy not getting Secret Service protection. Okay, like
Well, he
let's
is
look at
now.
it.
They are giving
Yeah,
it to
you
him.
bet he is now. But like, let's look at some of the decisions that are being made by this federal government, and arguably, Kevin, I, I'm going to take the high ground or the middle road here, and I'm going to go with why everyone's like tinfoil hat is buzzing. Why these conspiracy theories are jumping out at us from all over the place is is the following: even the Secret Service is incompetent. Okay. Like the government is so incredibly incompetent at doing the things that we all accept that we accept that they should provide security for presidential candidates. We
Yeah.
accept that. That's of all the things I complain about my money being spent on, that's not really one of them. And so
Yeah, well, like
this
it sort of makes sense. There's a long history of people attempting to assassinate or successfully assassinating presidents,
sure the
and like, okay,
CIA.
so
So, oops, sorry. Go ahead.
we won't go down that road quite
Yeah,
yet,
right.
but yeah, but okay, like you compare like the situation of Donald Trump getting shot to Ronald Reagan getting shot, right? Like if you've
Right.
ever seen video of like Ronald Reagan getting shot, like it is lightning fast. Like Secret Service, like yeah, like he got him, like Reagan was shot, but like they like moved. They like immediately bolted everyone out of the way, threw him in the car, got out of there. It happens like faster than you can think. And that's kind of what we expect in a situation like that. Everything about this situation in Trump, like just wild incompetence at best.
I think
Um,
everybody's seen the Secret Service young lady who pulls her gun out of her holster and cannot find it to return her weapon back to her holster. Like that looked
yeah,
bizarre. They
yeah,
go and
like just
question. Yeah, I mean, dude, it
like yeah,
looked
like a lack of
awful.
training, like that. It should be like automatic for that type of stuff. But like the um like the thing that came out today with the head of Secret Service, she was talking about how like, oh, we couldn't have someone on that roof because it was a slope roof and we were concerned about a safety issue. What?
Bro, I'm
But that's
telling you,
that's a
this
weird thing
does
to say.
it's bizarre. And look, being a guy, like I want to be honest, I work on low pitch metal roofs all the time. I want to like verify what you're saying. It's not safe for a government employee. Like they are not competent enough to
The
be
the,
on
the
those
other
things.
the
I'm
other
just
roof was
saying.
like sloped too, and like
Well,
the guy got up there, right? Like I,
yeah.
I don't know, like and you don't even need someone on there. You just need someone like watching that. Like okay, like because I've heard an explanation like kind of the middle like ring of protection was supposed to be done by like local law enforcement. Okay, local law enforcement dropped the ball then because like people were telling them like, hey, there's a guy on the roof. Like it looks like he has a gun. Like look at that guy, go get him. And they apparently, I know it happened fast, but like they went up, they looked, the guy pointed the gun at him, and he started firing. But the dude was able to get up there. He was able to like scope out the area for a while, like literally. And like, how did anyone allow that to happen? How did the Secret Service who were like, watching the area allow that to happen? People were making a ruckus,
Look,
like trying to
five
get the
hundred
attention of
feet.
anyone.
Yeah, 500 feet.
It's
It
so
roughly.
close.
Yeah, any one of my friends could make that shot. You know what I'm saying? Like this is that is not a good perimeter. I can't believe that the guy got on the roof. So people are like it, this kind of
Yeah.
level, this level of incompetence is encouraging rampant speculation, and
Yeah.
the, the And look, man, the director
Yeah,
of the
no, like
Secret
it
Service.
does generate conspiracy theories though, because like it's so incompetent. You're like, how could they have done that on purpose? How could they be this bad on purpose?
Yeah, yeah. I do want to. I while we're talking about their incompetence, so Kevin, I want to kind of point everybody at an article that I picked up from Cato that points out that the amazing savings that we get with the Secret Service from 2014 till 2024, it it has only increased in cost to the U.S. taxpayer about 55%. So
Oh,
with those kind of low cost investments, what we need to do is throw more money at this problem, and it
well,
will in fact get fixed.
and ironically, they would be the service to know if that money is real because they also are in charge of counterfeits for some reason.
I don't think they are anymore. I think they gave it to a separate unit in the
Did
Treasury
they?
Department, but they
No,
were for a really long time. They definitely were.
I
To
thought
live
they
in
still were.
Yeah, I think To Live and Die in LA was about Secret Service agents and how they would find counterfeiters and just what a wild life that must be. I think. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure they still do the counterfeit currency thing. I'm looking
I
at secretservice.gov counterfeit investigations. Yeah,
I thought it went under. Okay, I could be wrong. Or I
yeah.
could
I
have
mean,
made
it's
that up.
it
That's
could have
another
made it.
thing. Yeah.
It's possible, but no, it's a thing. They're the ones who investigate it. Again, why they're the ones doing that, I don't know, but that makes
Yeah.
sense. It's some that stuck out to me. We had someone who was like formerly in the Secret Service at like speak at like Oriskany one time, and they talked about like the counterfeit currency investigation stuff for a while.
All right.
But um but anyway, that's mostly not what I want to talk about. Like mostly it's like yeah, the wild incompetence of like what happened here and how that generates conspiracy theories. And like part of it, yeah, like we've already talked a little bit about the political ramifications in terms of like a lot of people like came out of this like thinking like, man, Trump looked cool. Like I don't that's not enough reason for me to vote for him, but he looked cool. And then like the other thing like that I always think of, like we haven't had like political violence in a really long time. Political violence at like this type of level, right?
Hmm.
We've had a bit of it, not presidential assassination since like Ronald Reagan in the 80s. Um, but like we've had like the shooting at the congressional baseball game. We had like the Gabby Gifford shooting. And now you see a bunch of folks, and I've seen a bunch of folks like on the libertarian side too, even being like, wow, you can't this is because everyone's overheated right now. You can't call Trump a dictator. I think JD Vance specifically said like it's a heated rhetoric from the left calling him like a dictator and the next Hitler that caused this. I I gotta be honest. I don't buy that. Like I don't buy that stuff at all. I'm
Counterpoint. I do in fact buy it on some level because it's a two-way street with them. They'll call out the right anytime they step off of any kind of political correctness and say you're inciting violence, and yet they walk around constantly inciting violence. During the summer of love, Kevin, and this is real, they kept downplaying the levels of violence going on in cities and urban areas where these riots were happening. So I understand that we want it to be that way. I'm sympathetic to what you're saying, but I'm
I
a little
I
bit
I
like,
think that is a different set of circumstances to say, like, the weird, like, mostly peaceful protest type of thing, like, yeah, like, that was odd, but I think
sure,
if you feel that Donald Trump is a threat to the republic, you should say as much, and I don't think Joe Biden talking about him, like, in, um, you know, kind of apocalyptic terms is what caused this crazy person to go and try to take a shot at him, right? Uh,
all
and
right,
and I think it's important because like you and I will sometimes use bombastic language to describe politicians too,
I definitely
like
will.
how we've talked about Cuomo and Hochul, and
Yeah,
like no, like, because sometimes, like, I'll be like, "Hey, the thing that Governor Hochul did is tyrannical. Like, it is unjust. It is unconstitutional. It is not befitting of any elected official in a republic." And that is something that we should and ought to be able to say without being like browbeat or worse, having that sort of speech banned. Like, if you think someone's acting like a dictator or could be a dictator, you should be able to talk about it. And if someone commits a violent act, it is not your fault for someone to do that. It is not incitement. In the same way that, like you talk about, Trump's speeches on January 6th were not direct incitement either.
Yeah, no, I do. I agree with you. And I also agree with your overriding point that we shouldn't be limiting speech. Um, Now, I still think that this constant rhetoric about a complete threat to democracy and an overemphasis on the importance of democracy in our society, and without a lack of real discussion of the problems that it causes, like I think that these things concern me enough to be like, ha ha, see, you guys did this, but in a way, I'm not that serious. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? It's just like they have it coming because I remember when they went off on Sarah Palin for coming up with a
Yeah, for the
campaign
Gabby Giffords
advertisement.
thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
because there's targets on, like, the
y-
different districts, and
And
people are
so
like, "Oh,
it's
Sarah Palin caused this." No, she didn't. That's
yeah, and we're gonna talk more about cancel culture and stuff like that and how A, I hate it, but B, I get a little sense of, hey, you kind of got this common kind of issue. You know what? It's awkward and weird. And as a libertarian, I do my best to stay out of the fray of that. But a little piece of me enjoys this. I get a certain Schadenfreude out of it. I'm just like, ha, ha, ha. That's what you get. E- Even if I don't necessarily agree with it, the blowback is beautiful and hilarious.
yeah. No,
It's
no,
fun.
we're definitely gonna talk about all that stuff. And I will mention this one on air because I was thinking this as I was talking about political violence. W in the shoe. Someone did throw a shoe at George W. Bush, who apparently the same photographer who took that picture of Trump got one of the good photos of W getting hit, almost getting hit by the shoe as well. Um,
Really?
just
That's
yeah,
that's
happened to be
that
it.
doesn't make me feel conspiratorial at all.
Yeah, right. This guy's in on it.
Yeah.
Um, no, but all right. On that note, though, we're going to head to break. Thanks again for joining us here on A Free Solution. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Talk to you soon. Um, yeah, and so a couple other comments we'll get to before jumping right back into this is where Boy Basin X says there was more slope to the roof the counter sniper team was on than there was on the shooter's roof. Yeah, I mean that's why people are like, what a ridiculous answer. Like we can all tell how stupid that answer is. Why would you say that?
Because she's a lame ass government official making excuses, right?
Yeah,
Like that's what they do. And Kevin, here's the thing. 50% of the population is going to be like, "Well, why would you criticize her?" You know what I mean? Like that's probably true. And it's like that can't be true, okay? Like
I think most of the population is like, how did you guys let this happen? Because
I
so we
agree. Man,
yeah
I agree. That's where I'm at. How did this happen? This is a range. This 500 feet, Kevin. 520 feet, 140 yards. That's a football field plus, the end zones. Okay,
yeah
that's one end of a stadium to the other. There is no way that this should have happened. Just no way.
no, no way
You
it should
want?
have happened.
I,
I was gonna get that one.
yeah, I love this question. It's a tough one, right?
So, yeah, Trisha on YouTube says, in your opinion, should Hitler have been taken out sooner? Discuss off air, please. Uh,
Well,
yeah, I mean, no, I mean, we'll like let me like outline like some thoughts in this question here, though. There was a lot of attempts to take out Hitler. Hitler was a specific type of fascist that I like. It is an exaggeration to say either Trump or Biden or anyone like in mainstream American politics or anything close to what Hitler was, right? There are tyrannical policies. Like Hitler is a different thing. Um, that said, like there's it's funny because like I will see like sometimes libertarians and conservatives like who get that like they'll talk about like the three percenters in the American Revolution. 3% of the country they rose up and fought tyranny. They'll talk about like watering the tree of liberty with the blood of tyrants and like talk a big game. And then if this person was in fact motivated by ideology, and he might not have been like he might have just been a crazy person who's trying to impress a celebrity or something, right? But if he was motivated
like
by
the Jodie
ideology, like
Foster deal.
yeah, it's exactly what
Yeah,
I was thinking of. But so it could
yeah.
be something like ridiculous like that, and given the history of a lot of presidential assassins or would-be assassins, that's that's like a lot of them. They're not ideologues, they're just crazy folks. But that being said, like if someone's acting on that ideology, if you are the type of person who is saying that type of stuff, what you are advocating for is, you know, political violence as a way of solving the potential political violence of someone in government. And it's funny because like we'll probably talk about this a bit in the next segment, but like political violence is something that affects everyday people all the time. Like there's violence from the government constantly. It is much more rare for government to or for violence to impact elected officials, and I think that's generally a good thing for violence to be rare among elected officials because elections are a better, less destructive way of solving problems than how we used to solve political conflicts, which was slaughtering each other. So
Sure.
that's most of human history is if someone's not going to do things my way, let's just kill them all. Like it's a good thing we're not doing that anymore. And we don't want to go
Yeah.
back to it.
Arguably. Look, that's pretty funny because being in the heart of the American Revolution, I've had time to reflect on will this all break down into a civil war? Would if Trump had gotten shot, because my thoughts were there ahead of Trump getting shot at. I am skeptical that it would. Unless society really breaks down where all of a sudden we're not getting gas to our gas stations and we're not getting food to our grocery stores, there's not going to be a civil war. I don't think we'd have to enter into some kind of massive depression. All in
Yeah.
all, and this is something I think you'll agree with, all in all, things are interesting and fun and people's lives are relatively busy. I think that there's a lot of room for improvement. I think we
Yeah.
get, the political class blows a lot of smoke up our butts, but I think all in all, it's mostly okay, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
I generally
arguably,
tend to agree.
even though I hate the government, Kevin,
Yeah.
me, the voice of reason now. How is that happening?
Yeah. Nope. So all right. I want to head back though, mostly
Sure.
because I don't have any working fans up here anymore because
Oh,
the
let's get
house
moving.
fire I had. But
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We got to talk about the house fire. Should we do it on the show?
sure, if you want.
All right, let's do that.
All right. So we'll head back in 3, 2, 1.
A free solution.
All right, welcome back to A Free Solution. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host for today, joined by Tim, the Freedom Bearing O'Connor.
Hey, Kevin. Hey, we got to talk about you had a kind of a minor disaster. I want the WYSL audience to know about it. I want our friends
Okay.
out there in Facebook world and Twitter world to know about it because like Kevin and I were going to do a show last week. I went home to get to home base because that's a much better podcast situation than what I've got going on in these crazy hotel rooms all over the country. But Kevin's like, I've got to clean up my house. It caught on fire a bunch of times and my neutral wire disconnected from my house. And I'm like, all right, that's fair, bud. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
no,
Like,
it's so what happened is like so we were about to go on a walk with the family, like we had the boys, like we're loading them up into the stroller and everything and about to get the dog out. And all of a sudden our lights start going nuts. They start like dimming and then getting really bright and then dimming and getting bright. Our fans are like turning on and off and everything. Then all of a sudden we start like smelling like burning plastic and then
oof,
seeing smoke.
oof.
And our surge protector behind, like underneath our couch, underneath our by our curtains, like caught on fire. And so we're like, oh shoot, okay. So we got the boys out of there. The toddler wanted to see what was going on, but we're trying to get him out of
Of
there.
course.
Drag the couch away, and then probably shouldn't have done this, but like I yanked that cord out of the wall, because like it's burning. Our house is still going nuts. We can't figure it out. Turns out like all the surge protectors in the house are doing that. They're all going nuts.
Wow.
And so they're all catching on fire. So we're like, okay, get the boys out of here, call 911. I'm going to see if I can shut off some breakers, see if anything's going to work. But for some reason, I turned breakers off and like plugs were still hot. And just a whole crazy thing. But turns out what it was the neutral wire to my house got disconnected, and my house being not being grounded properly, everything was still remaining hot because there's nowhere for it to go properly.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that'll happen. That the neutral provides a little bit of off flow for the current going through your devices, and if that disconnects, that
yeah,
electricity really has nowhere to go.
apparently with the neutral being disconnected and having nowhere to go, it was still running through the panel out through the ground and the water line. But that meant that the panel was still hot for some reason.
Yeah,
And we're just getting way more power to the outlets than and everything. Luckily everything is fine. Yeah, so yes, nobody got hurt. Like we were able to get out quickly. As soon as I couldn't figure out how to like get the stuff off, so I just killed the main power to the house. And the fire department came in. They tried to see if they could figure out what was going on. They couldn't, and they're like, "Yeah, you should stay in a hotel." So that's
yeah.
what we ended up doing. We stayed in a hotel that Tuesday night, and then next day our G&E came out and they fixed it within an hour of us calling, actually. So yeah,
Honestly, it's an easy fix. I'm a little surprised that happened in the first place. You should probably talk to an electrician and have them kind of go through your house a little bit and check some of the wires, especially if you feel like they got hot, because that can deteriorate the sheathing protection in between the wires.
yeah. No, I've been so I did have an electrician come out, like, so there's no damage that we could see. A couple of the outlets were a little bit charred, so I just replaced those.
Yep. Yep.
Um, but but it is an old house. It's a 100-year-old house. It's weird. We got weird aluminum wiring in a few rooms. The circuit breakers don't make sense. It'll be like weird disparate parts of the house on like one breaker and then like one outlet on another breaker, and it's just all sorts of crazy stuff.
Yep.
But like, so to some of these other comments, like Zach says, glad you're okay, and it wasn't worse than it could have been. Yeah, like it's great. Like some of the ones that caught on fire, like one under my bed caught on fire.
Oh wow.
It was all burned up. We had a basket that had like, probably shouldn't have had it in the basket, but we had a surge protector in there too, and that burnt up, and it burnt up our basket. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. That's
so
yeah, that's good.
yeah,
I'm glad that everything worked out. I'm glad that you're okay. It was, being somewhat knowledgeable in electric, I was definitely concerned, and I was kind of baffled by the concept that your neutral wire just disconnected from your house. But
yeah. I
weird
mean,
things happen.
it, who knows? Like, it could have been like a squirrel or something. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
hard to say what exactly it was for sure, but
yeah,
it's just weird.
yeah,
I, but here we are back
yeah.
at it,
I'm
offering
back.
the
Yeah,
people a show.
yeah. There's my story. Um, but so anyway, we should get back to the actual show bit, I guess.
Sure.
Um, what were we gonna talk about?
Well, I kind of feel like we didn't really go. We kind of started touching on it, but there's this whole along with the conspiracy theories, there's this whole new level of one of the biggest things. That's why I called myself the culture warrior tonight. Is because there's a lot of cancel culture kind of canceling going on all over the country, and like I said, I kind of enjoy it, but also it's exactly what's wrong with society. And just because the Trump stands are winning this week doesn't make it okay. It does, even though it's hilarious.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, like, so I've seen some of these things. Like, okay, like a random lady who worked at Home Depot who said something not nice about Trump being shot on Facebook. You're picking the wrong target, folks. Like, she was some
I
random lady.
know.
Like that. Don't pick on the Home Depot workers. They like it doesn't matter that much.
I would think that the only way to win the culture war, Kevin, is to not fight the culture war. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, I mean, generally I agree. Like, I don't think like we need to engage on this type of stuff. And listen, especially not going after targets that don't matter. Like, if it were Elizabeth Warren being like, man, I wish he got him, like, okay, roast Elizabeth Warren. But
Right.
like,
Take her out.
Yeah, just like randos, like no, like it doesn't matter that much. Like it really doesn't. Like don't get yourselves upset. Like in like like was it like the account Libs of TikTok? Like they look for reasons to get you mad because that's what drives engagement, right? Like that's what they do.
Sure.
That's their thing. I know they point out some people who are funny and ridiculous sometimes, but like the point is to make you mad, even if it's a trivial thing. And in this case, like it was some trivial stuff. And it's like, it's not, you are not victorious. You're not like fighting the left effectively by getting some like rando cashier fired from like a retail store. Oh, Tim, did you freeze up on me? But um so we'll get to some of these other comments too. So Legacy Zach on YouTube says cancel culture on the right is just as bad as those on the left. It's sad at this point. We're at this point in society. Yeah, cancel culture applies to both sides. They're both doing it. They're both out um, trying to win these cultural battles to shut down the other side, to people to remove people from a society who don't agree with like their narrative. Um, so Tim, you back with us?
I think I am, Kevin. How
Yeah. No, Tim's back with us now. But we're just talking about cancel culture on the right versus on the left, and I know you get a bit
did
of Schadenfreude about it, but like,
I, right, like I said, I did kind of enjoy it.
yeah. Um, but yeah. Anyway, so in terms of some of the other stuff going on
Not fight the
with
culture.
oh, I'm getting occasional things from Tim. Patricia says cancel culture. There you go. Love it. It's fine. Like again, I I'm okay with some level of consequences, just but some of it gets a bit over the top, and this is one of those cases. Um, so I'm gonna just keep going until Tim goes back because some of the other stuff that I can see Tim now. Some of the other stuff I want to talk about with this too, we sort of started talking about during the break, which was that um I don't like the breakdown into political violence. Like I think it's bad like that people think of violence as a legitimate solution to political problems. Because we are talking about it over the break, like people that's how people used to solve problems. People used to solve problems by deciding to start killing each other. That's like, you think of like the hundreds of years, oh, the many wars in Europe over like Catholics and Protestants, like how many people died over the differences between religions in Europe, and who gets to exercise control over other people. That when you have a system where you have a total a government with total and unchallenged power, that the stakes become very high. And I think when you do have a system that tends towards like a very powerful executive like we do, it does end up inspiring a lot more violence because the stakes end up being so much higher as well. Because like it does become legitimately dangerous. So the best way to make sure that we move away from political violence is to continue returning power to average everyday people, to continue promoting liberty, and to make sure that the president doesn't have so much power that he or she has the ability to, on a whim, ruin our lives, to make unilateral decisions without the consent of people to destroy an entire way of life. And unfortunately, like we have presidents and two major party candidates who do think of themselves as strong executives and act on that power and authority that they've been accumulating over the decades. Timmy, back
Yeah,
with us to jump in.
yeah. Yeah, it's like behold the power of populism. It's something that you and I have railed against, where people look to a strong leader. So when people are drawing this analogy to Hitler, there is a legitimate concern. Hitler was a populist, right? So when we're pretending that executive orders that punish the people that we're mad at, especially when it gets into the culture warrior stuff, like when we pretend that those executive orders that are don't go through Congress, that are not properly debated, when those things happen, that's actually the worst possible scenario of it all. You didn't win anything. We all lost stuff to a centralized authority. Now, I get concerned because, like, what if we just break into a bunch of tribes? Don't we just start smashing each other into tiny bits? But we're so far from that that I just don't see that as being the big problem right now. The roving warlord argument, Kevin. You know what I mean? Won't we
Yeah.
just evolve into a band of roving warlords? And how would I be in charge of one of those? You know, you see what I'm saying?
Tim, I'm sure they would. Is a warlord elected? Maybe some are, but
Yeah.
that's you can run for that.
All right.
But no, I don't think we're quite at that point either. But things can like it, the dangerous part about political violence. And again, we're not anywhere near. I try to keep in mind like the 70s were so much more violent than like we are today. Like, not only like all the assassinations like in the like 60s, you think of like John F. Kennedy, Robert F. Kennedy, Martin Luther King Jr., the attempted assassinations on Ford, all the bombings, like the far left political violence coming from places like the Black Panther and the Weather Underground, and then
Yeah.
like right wing violence as well. Like there's a wild time. Like we're not quite at that point yet. It's not as widespread as like people think it is.
Yeah.
It's still scary. It's still because like we could start to get to that point, and it could go from like where we are now to the 70s in the United States to Ireland during the Troubles, like way faster than people realize. Like it can break down quickly, it can escalate quickly if we as citizens of a republic don't hold true to solving problems without violence.
Look, we used to have rumbles back in the 70s. Like that's a real thing where a bunch of kids would get together and pretend to go fight other kids. And the Philadelphia police in 85, guys. That's when they took out that city block, right?
The bombing, yeah,
Yeah.
aerial
Oh,
bombing, yeah.
oh my God. And look, that's something that it's not taught in public schools. It's not discussed about how a really bad idea can infect an entire police department. And the next thing you know, they're burning down a city block to find, I don't know, one person. You know what I mean? Or
Yeah.
or what was like a group of people. I can't remember the
Yeah,
details off the top of my head.
it was yeah, it was a group of people, who were, depending on who you ask, either a civil rights group or like a violent, terrorist organization, uh,
Sometimes it's
and
hard to tell the
just
difference.
as they might have been, a little bit of a gray area,
Yeah,
but anyway,
certainly.
we're gonna head to break, and then we'll come back for one more segment. Thanks again for joining us here on A Free Solution. Talk to you in a few,
Yeah,
and
I don't know what happened. Like everything was going great, and then all of a sudden, probably my new computer wanted to update, or some program on it decided to try to grab a hold of things, and I
someone
just
at the hotel turned on their Xbox,
that
and
could be that. It could be that. I got to
uh,
get like one of those hotspots, like where I was going to try doing it through my phone, but I'm like that can't be better than the hotel Wi-Fi, can it?
maybe some of the hotels you stayed at. I don't know, man.
I
Uh,
they take pretty good care of me, man. My hotels are kind of like as hotels go when you're traveling on the road. I've been pretty happy. Get frequent flyer points. Generally, my hotel has a hot tub. I generally insist on that.
nice. Might as
Yeah.
well. You're on the road enough. You're working hard. You might as well get to relax in the hot tub. I think that's fair, Tim.
I That's what they said when I made a joke about it. They're like, "That's fair. Don't worry about it." I'm like, "Wow." And yes, I am working hard, but like it's a whole different composite of work that I'm doing now. Um, kind of like a management type thing, which stresses me out. Like I went through life early in my life, I was a manager. Now, like then I got into doing hard work and also being kind of just like a boss and running a business. And then it was like, all right, I'll be a foreman on jobs and we'll run those jobs. And now it's getting to where I'm kind of a manager, kind of doing more paperwork. I'd like to see where this goes. It seems like our company has a pretty decent amount of opportunity coming up. So it may work out really well. Um, you know,
Yeah,
it's fun.
yeah, right on.
Yeah.
Let me get to this comment quick. We've been tamed. I don't know, man. Like, because the thing is, a lot of that violence was directed towards like just other Americans. It wasn't even like
Yeah.
directed necessarily like at
Predict Yeah, productive productively at the
yeah.
government. Excuse me.
Yeah,
But
like
it's a
some of it
joke,
was
it's a
directed at the
joke.
government, not necessarily in a productive way either.
Right.
But like, yeah, a lot of it was just people being terrible to people. And listen, I think it's a good thing, like we political violence, and I don't just mean like people attacking politicians, but like general political violence is like relatively low in the United States. Because like things could get like out of hand. Like, the more I study like the troubles in Ireland, like that, like what a miserable like existence like people who are in that area had to endure, like just like
Yeah.
every day, like wondering like if some like nut job was gonna like shoot up your neighborhood or blow something up, not even necessarily targeting you, but certainly impacting you. And so we want to stay away from that stuff. It's bad. Like we shouldn't, like again, as like we should strive for a republic that like minimizes that like violence is only an absolute last resort, and that like it is a resort. That's why we have the Second Amendment. There's a reason for that, but it should be like an absolute like last ditch effort to try to preserve liberty when all other legitimate means have been exhausted.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm gonna say it again. I get the feeling that we're not as close as sometimes we feel like we are. Like
Yeah,
it can be pretty annoying to watch the constant, I don't know, belaboring of stupid points from the government, and the devaluation of the currency, and the carve outs for special classes, and then the response to the carve outs for special classes, and then it's just this constant narrative of getting people emotional to fight over things all of the time to get votes and to sell access to our budgeting process. All of those things are incredibly, incredibly annoying, and literally legitimately so. But it's not, I don't think it's going to devolve into, I don't know, I'm just going to move to New Hampshire and pay less taxes. Like, it's going to be simple. Like,
yeah.
you know what I mean?
So yeah, and so I agree. Like, I don't think we're on the edge of any major. Most people like have more in common than not. I said these things can flip, but like I think for the most part, like most people don't have the appetite for that now. Like some other conditions would have to change first, which so it can happen, but like we're not there yet.
Yeah, I mean, we have a plan if it happens, sort of, like a loosely kind of laid plan of, we can isolate on a big area that one of my friends owns. We're not going to be go out and warlord. If things get weird, we're going to protect
We're
our
just
own.
gonna do. You're not gonna do Mad Max style. Like are you gonna wear the outfits, Tim?
I mean,
Like
it's tempting, bro. It's tempting. I
I
love
mean,
those
like, it's
outfits.
not great for, like, February in New York, I gotta be honest. Some of those look a bit
Yeah.
cold for,
Well,
I
hopefully
mean, like, you're
global
gonna have to,
warming
like, full
keeps
on, like
going.
yeah, like, okay, that's a good point. So if we get some good global warming, maybe you can do that, or I think, like, you can go full, like, barbarian, like, pelts, like, just
Yeah,
just get some, like, good pelts. I think that would be, like, a good, like, winter
that's
outfit for
more
the,
my
like, warmer
style,
barbarians.
and
Yeah,
yeah, nature will provide that stuff for us.
that's right.
Yeah. So those are, yeah, those are things. Legacy Zach was right up with us, but climate change,
Gonna change. Yeah, you're right there, man.
and that could work out.
Yeah. Alright, so anyway, uh, we should head back in I don't know, we'll head back in, like, 30 seconds, and
All right.
so I'm glad you got a plan. My plan was mostly just, like, keep podcasting till the internet goes down, and then
Yeah,
I don't know what, like, I'm just
it's tougher
we'll
in these urban areas. What is your plan? Like, get to me, Kevin. I'll protect you.
alright.
We'll
I'll
find a
see what I
role.
can do.
Yeah, we'll find a role. We'll find that. It'll work.
Alright. Oh, let's go back in 3, 2 Welcome back to A Free Solution. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host for today, joined by Tim, the Freedom Variant O'Connor.
Hey, Kevin. Look, much has been made about Joe Biden's potential to win this presidency. Much has been made. Even you and I talked about his debate performance. Um, Good news Joe Biden is staying in the race, unless he he suffers some sort of major medical problem, and it just so happens that he has been diagnosed with COVID
He
and
got
plans on
COVID,
self-isolating.
bro.
Like,
Like,
dude, it's scripted, Kevin. It's
I don't
scripted.
know. He
Like
said unless the Almighty tells him to drop out of the race, that he's gonna stay in, and like this is not enough of a sign for him.
this,
Like,
I,
I've seen people compare it. Like, do you know the like two boats in the helicopter like parable that they talk about at church? Have you heard that one?
no, I don't think so.
So here's how it goes. Is and I've heard this from like a couple different sermons. Is basically, there's a man who is knows a hurricane is coming. Here's a weather forecast. He knows a hurricane is coming. His friends and family tell him, "Hey man, you should evacuate." He says, "No, I'm not going to evacuate. God will deliver me."
All right.
And then the flood starts coming. His house starts flooding, and someone with a boat comes by, and they say, "Hey, do you want to ride out of here?" He says, "No, I don't. I don't need the boat. God's going to deliver me." And then he
All
gets up
right.
on the roof and sees another boat. Same thing. Do you want to ride, sir? No, I don't want. I don't want a boat. God's going to deliver me. And then finally, a helicopter comes as the water is like rising up over his roof and about to take him away. And he says, "No, I don't need a helicopter. God's going to deliver me." And so he ends up dying. And he gets to heaven and he asks God, like, "God, why didn't you save me? I was praying to you, I was loyal to you, and I'm glad to be here, but why did you save me?" He says, "I sent you a weather forecast, two boats, and a helicopter."
That's exactly right. Like I was just looking up that old saying of God helps those who help themselves, but it's like it's a Ben Franklin phrase, and it is supposed to roughly translate into fortune favors the bold, but there's a little bit more to it, and I'm trying to find the whole background of it. But basically, God will be on your side if you take advantage of the things that he gives you is the argument. And this
Yeah.
guy didn't quite seem to get it.
Yeah. No, yeah, he's had a lot of signs that maybe like he's just not in a good position to be in the race, and I wish him well, and also wish him a happy retirement. Like he should retire.
Yeah, look, I don't
Not that I'm
I
excited for President Harris either.
yeah.
That's
Well, I don't wish him well. I think he's a bad guy. I think he's endemic of the system. I don't hate him either because that's beneath me. But like he shouldn't be president. How he got to be president is again participating in a corrupted system that makes lots of people rich for selling access to our budgetary process. I don't necessarily and look, I don't like wars. And one of the many reasons I don't like wars is because it's part of this modern monetary theory that drives me crazy. It's like the broken windows fallacy on steroids.
Mhm.
They're saying, "Hey, let's just grow the economy to grow the economy," and I don't think it's right. I think it steals from the middle
No.
class and the poor, and it bothers me. So, you know, he can retire. I'll wish
Yeah,
him
he could
like
retire. I mean, unfortunately, his son Hunter Biden is strongly encouraging him to stay around for some reason.
now
You know.
either Hunter Biden is not at all involved in Joe, or he's Joe's closest advisor. Like somebody needs to help straighten this out for us. Like, which is it? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, it's hard to say. Well, no, it's not hard to say. They have a close relationship that involved selling access to the U.S. budgetary process. It's that is corruption, guys, is legal. I wish that when I said it, everyone would be like,
Oh,
"Yeah, that's so wrong," because
oh,
it's true.
I was gonna say, so to somewhat of a sidebar, but related thing. You hear Senator Menendez got convicted? The gold bars guy.
Hey, yeah, good for him. Like, did he get convicted for trading in gold bars? Because that would seem like
No,
unjust.
it wasn't because he was trading in gold bars specifically.
Okay. All right.
Just,
Phew.
taking bribes to get defense contracts to certain Egyptian
Oh,
folks.
that okay. Yeah, that Senator
And
Menendez.
and one of the
Yeah,
bribes
that
he happened
guy.
to take was like a literal gold bar.
Yeah, several. I think it
Yeah.
was several. And look, that guy had been in trouble before.
Yeah.
He dodged the bullet so many times because he's such like he's slippery, Kevin. And
Yeah.
you know,
He's actually caught a conviction this time. He is, as of
good
right
for
now,
him.
still a senator, and I think Chuck Schumer is demanding that he resign publicly,
Mm.
but he has not done so yet.
Well, my favorite politician of all times, that Adam Schiff, is politely requesting that Joe Biden step down. So it's a pretty interesting.
Oh, Adam Schiff is saying it now
Now,
publicly,
now, yeah, now I want Joe Biden to stay in the race because I hate Adam Schiff that much.
just because.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Yeah,
That's it. Yeah.
yeah,
So look, there is some local news I'd like to get out to the WYSL audience. And guys, like, look, our friends on Facebook, smash the like button. Our friends on YouTube, smash the like button. Guys, if you can throw us a couple pennies, that would be great. But look, local Oneana news, they're closing down pot shops. Like New York State allegedly, purportedly made these things legal. And here they are, like sending in the state police to arrest people for tax evasion, to close down their product offering. You and I, Larry Sharp, we all knew it was going to end this way. We knew it.
yep. No, it's just that what a like a mess, what a cluster that New York State has given like small business owners around here, which again, like a bunch of them, like including ones in my neighborhood, have gotten shut down, and like it's been a mess. It's been unclear. People have invested a lot of money just for the state to like say like, well, hold on a little bit longer. Like people put their life savings into this. People have taken out massive loans on this. People have like with the expectation that there would be a clear path forward for there to be a business because New York State indicated that that's what the case would be.
Yeah.
Instead, we have like such an overemphasis on equity in the legalization of marijuana that no one gets legal marijuana. We still ended up with the unjust system of war on drugs that we had before.
Yeah, and those equity rules that they started are illegal. So what happens is people from out of state sue New York State, shake them down for a license. So some big business from Ohio ends up with a license because they sue appropriately. And little people who open up a mom and pop shop thinking that they're going to get into a good business that they always have believed was legal, like should have been legal,
Yeah.
are getting put out of business for and again for tax evasion, again for selling an illegal product without the proper licensing. It's been a crap show. It's not freedom, it's tyranny. And it makes me sad. Like you're saying, people invested time, they invested money. You don't get those years back. You only lose everything, you know?
Yeah. No, 100%. And unfortunately, like so many of those folks will just, never be able to pursue their dreams in that way again just because of New York State screwing around and not making a clear path forward when like really like they've had years to get on it. Like it doesn't take this long. Like it just every time like someone talks to me, oh, the government ought to do this stuff. Like literally, do they have the capacity to do this thing? Like they can't manage legal weed for goodness sakes. You want them to like micromanage rent. You want them
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
like build a bank in Rochester. You want them to I don't know, like a million different programs. It's like literally, can they do it? Like, do you have the expertise? Can you hire someone to do that? Do you have the competence to do that on a city or state level?
Yeah, well, they're going to be micromanaging the legal side of the opioids. So
Yeah.
I'm not worried about that at all. Like, again, the tinfoil conspiracy theorists get here because the government is so incompetent that we can't believe that these are actions that they would take, and yet they take them. Like, that's why people are freaking out about this Trump thing. That's why these people, I'm losing my mind, Kevin. It's driving me
Yeah.
nuts. It's
Yeah.
driving me nuts.
So, did you have any other local things to talk about? Oh, excuse me.
Well, I have a New York State thing to talk about, but I feel like it's
Go.
recycled news. But Albert the alligator, that guy from Hamburg out near you, that guy is
That guy.
not giving up on his 30-year-old blind 20-foot long alligator. He is officially filed suit. I know he had talked about it on other shows. We've talked about it. He was thinking about it, but he has officially filed suit against the New York State DEC and I wish him well. I don't have a GoFundMe where I'd like pump it right up. You know what I mean? I'd be like, come on, send this guy a couple bucks so he can fight for his alligator. Arguably, they said he didn't have a license, even though for 30 years he had a license. He said he filed the proper paperwork. They probably raised like the alligator license fee, and he's just like, I can't afford this anymore. So they came and drugged Albert, the alligator, taped his mouth shut, and threw him in the back of a van like it was some kid off of a Portland street who was an FBI asset. You know what I mean? They just tossed him in and drove away with him. And his owner, Tony, all right. I don't know what his name was. It's something like Tony. This is fighting to bring Albert the alligator back home. It's a beautiful story, folks.
Justice for Albert.
Yeah, justice for Albert. I mean,
But
Dexter Taylor would be better, but
yes. I mean, that's good cause too. Reuniting a man and his alligator.
sure.
But teach your own. You figure out which of these you want to support. If not both,
Yeah,
why
you
not
can
both?
you can do both. Yeah, justice for Albert,
Yep,
road boy based. I agree.
we're on it.
What about you? You got anything to finish out the show?
No, I mean, like mostly we got like 2 minutes left. I was gonna like take a couple minutes to opine on Donald Trump's pick for vice president. Did
Yeah,
not
let's
go
go.
with your guy Vivek.
He
He
didn't go
get
with
the
me
nod.
either. I thought he was
Didn't go
going
with
to
you.
outside chance that I was
Coulda,
going to be the
I
yeah.
heard rumors that Trump was gonna appoint libertarians to stuff. Why not this? Why
Yeah,
not
well,
the VP position? Like Tim was available, folks. Like
I was.
or at
Well,
least willing to serve.
I was willing to consider it. Like
Yeah.
I would have thought it over. So JD Vance has a compelling life story. I had never really heard of him before because, like, basically, me and Thomas Massey are Twitter bros, and like I follow base Mike Lee, and I try to bring him into less of a like warmongerer. Some of his points are great, and some of his points are radically, wildly inconsistent. But he doesn't get as many likes as some of the other politicians. So I try to interact with him. I try to help him out a little bit.
That's good. That's very charitable of you.
Yeah, my benevolence and knows
Yeah.
no bounds.
Yeah. So, like, being that there's only a minute left, so WYSL audience, if you want to hear about JD Vance, who is a big fan of policies, like if you love Elizabeth Warren, you're gonna love JD Vance. Like
Oh
Tim's
my
laughing
God.
because it's true. And
Yeah.
I'm not even
Yeah.
the first. Someone else made the joke earlier in this thread. I'm gonna have to go look for it. But oh, here it is. Like I see Zach made that.
Yeah.
He said JD Vance thinks highly of old Pocahontas. No, he and yeah, Hillbilly Elegy was a great, interesting book. And that's what it's kind of a smart pick on Trump's part because no one knows like kind of what a political weirdo JD Vance is. But they know him from the book.
Yeah.
And they know him as a guy who like, hey, that's a guy who like understood rural poverty, right? Like that's his thing. And he grew
Yeah.
up like, in Appalachia. Okay, like that's what
Right.
people know about him. And he has a beard. Like no one ever
Beards
has
are
beards
cool.
anymore in politics.
Yeah. No,
So
beards are cool.
yeah. So like, okay, like +1 for the beers, but like everything else, we're gonna talk about how he loves Linda Kahn and Elizabeth Warren type policies and all that stuff after the show. So WYSL audience, thanks for joining us tonight. Appreciate you being here. We're gonna call it a night for the radio show. Go find our podcast if you want to keep listening. All right. Have a good night, WYSL audience. Take care.
Peace.
But yeah, man, JD Vance, like
That's so like look, he's like it's populism, right? On steroids. JD Vance is just a psyop to make people believe Ohio is a real place. Like I've driven through Ohio. I don't know. They said it was Ohio. You're pretty close to Ohio out there where you are, right?
I mean, I don't know. I suspect it's real. Like I've read
wait.
about it being real.
No, I'm confusing Ohio with Erie, Pennsylvania. My
yeah.
apologies.
just all goes blank after that. There's a rumor that I've been to Cleveland once, but
All right.
I don't know. Who knows if
Cleveland rocks. It, they got that huge turn like right in the middle of downtown Cleveland where you got to like slow down to like 45 miles an hour or you're going off the highway. That's all I remember about Cleveland. That's it. I mean, I guess I've been through it at least once.
no. Oh, but anyway, before we go off on too much of a tangent, JD Vance.
Yeah, all right, all right. All right.
So
Yeah, let's talk about this guy.
yeah, so he's the senator, one of the senators from Ohio, and yeah, like he's an economic populist. Like he's the type of guy. Like, I mean, it's funny because he's also like a populist in the sense that like he was ranting about how like liberals were the cause of the Trump's assassination attempt because they were talking about him as a dictator, but also like he called Trump like literally American Hitler at one point in time too, which is funny. That's what he called him in like 2016.
He's an interesting fella. I kind of went through his Wikipedia page. U.S. Marine veteran.
Yep.
Not MEAL Team 6. He was a correspondent for so he did see action overseas, but he was a reporter. So obviously skilled, obviously an interesting kid.
He's
Obviously,
good writer,
yeah.
like his book Hillbilly Elegy, like it's interesting. I don't know. I won't go too much into the book right now. Maybe we could talk about it like more in depth later. But like I said, he just like he's a economic populist. Like he's a guy like he'll rail about like how all the housing problems are caused by BlackRock and how like corporations are too big and that government needs to do more to stop like corporate monopolies. It's listen, if you like Elizabeth Warren and Linda Kahn's like economic policies, like that's kind of where he's at on a lot of that stuff, is that it is good and legitimate for government to use their power to shape both the political priorities of corporations and to just attack corporations that he deems too big. So like going after Amazon just because Amazon's a monopoly. He supports that type of stuff, or going after, and especially, but a lot of times it ends up being kind of a pretty thin cover for companies that he doesn't like from a cultural perspective, like going after Google. Like a lot of the criticism tends to be mixed with, oh, and by the way, they like manipulate the algorithms against conservatives type of stuff, right? Which,
well, they did. Like, there's plenty of evidence that they did that. They shaped the 2020 election, Google. I stand by that.
You stand by that?
I stand by that.
You might like JD Vance then.
Oh no, I do like him. it's gonna generate a lot of material for us, Kevin.
That's true.
Epic. It's
yeah,
great.
At the very least, like that's the thing we can all be glad about. Like Tim and Kevin get better podcasting material. That's really like what we should all be thankful for this election season. Is thank goodness at least we have that.
Look, populism is epic, okay? It creates the best storylines for two libertarians that like occasionally disagree, but mostly come back to this kumbaya moment every single show. By the end of every single segment, it's like, all right, we disagreed for like 4 seconds right there. And it's like, you're right, Kevin. And then you're kind of like, well, I see where you're coming from, Tim. And it's just like, here we go. It's beautiful because populism is a disaster. Like, you can be an anti-establishment populist, and it's like, what does that even mean? You don't have any principles. You can be a MMTer one day and then talk about going back to the gold standard the next day because you have no principles and you don't make any sense. And it's always going to end the same way, where you shut down the government for 24 hours and then go to the Fed and bail everybody out. Like, I'm not saying that that's what Trump did, but it was a lot like that. Like, he was like Snowball walking on 2 legs, just like everybody else. It was great. It was just made for this.
No, that's who he is. And he'll just kind of like, it doesn't matter. Like he'll just say whatever he needs to say and whatever audience he needs to say it in front of in order to placate them enough. And like it doesn't matter. It's just all vibes, man. It's like there's no ideological mooring at all. Which, like some people like see like there's some libertarian-ish Republicans who see that as an exciting opportunity. Oh, maybe we get to steer the ship. I'm like, you probably won't though. Like it's
No, you won't. Look, that's what lured me into conservatism. It's like real, conservatives can shape the size and the scope of the government by influencing the Republican Party. And I'm like, perfect. And look, even before like I was a libertarian, I was a small government guy. Like that was the principles of the Republican Party is a small government. So small that I barely know that it exists. That's the kind of government that I want. Not because I hate people, but because I know that that would provide opportunity for our communities to grow. And for us to interact with each other. And so I don't know, I lost my train of thought, Kevin. I went off on a tangent there.
it happens.
It
Um,
does all the time.
all right. Well, anyway, I think I am gonna call it a night earlier.
Yeah, I
Just
got to get
because
down to the bar and get one more beer.
there you go. That's
Yeah.
important. All right. So thanks again for joining us here on Free Solution. Appreciate y'all being here. Thanks for all the great comments. Have a great night, folks.
Peace out.